Diane, where are we?
We're at the California Science Center and Exposition Park, and you are in the outdoor garden of an ancient home in ancient Pompeii before the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD.
Now, back in 62 AD, not that I remember, but I understand there was an earthquake which was maybe a precursor.
Yes, in 62 AD there was an earthquake. The people of Pompeii at the time evidently didn't really know that it was related to Mount Vesuvius. They thought it might have been caused by the gods or various other things. They rebuilt the city and did not anticipate the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and the fact they didn't even have a word for volcano.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there was some destruction on that earthquake.
Yes, there was some destruction from the 62 earthquake, absolutely, but they rebuilt.
Yeah, until that fateful August.
Yes, August 24th, 79 AD. It was at the height of the Roman Empire, and this was really a bustling city of 25,000 people. Well, in the exhibition Pompeii, there are over 150 artifacts. There are original wall frescoes, statues, jewelry, gladiator equipment, and a highlight really are 6 body casts of some bodies of the victims who died with the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. And all of the artifacts are kind of placed in situ within the home, so you get a picture of how lavish these Pompeii homes were. And then you'll also learn about the science of volcanoes, and we have an IMAX film that accompanies the exhibit called Forces of Nature.
The artworks and artifacts displayed in the early part of the exhibit reflect the city of Pompeii as an active and important metropolitan community, with no clue as to the danger that loomed ahead. I understand, though, that Pompeii was a hustling, bustling place, a port, and rather significant at that time before the disaster.
Yeah, that's right. It was a major commercial point, shipping point, a place of entertainment and recreation where the elite from Rome would come to have a respite. And the exhibition of Pompeii sort of paints the picture of what daily life was like in Pompeii before it all ended with the eruption of Mount Vesuvius.
So this was really the place to be back in 60 AD.
Well, I think the exhibition has really presented it well, that Pompeii was not Rome, it wasn't Alexandria, it wasn't New York, Paris, London. It was a small town. In the area of Los Angeles, we might say something like Culver City. It was a prosperous port town, a mercantile city. It wasn't exceptional, and that's where we get insight. That's why it's so valuable to us. It was a normal place. What was exceptional is that it was buried instantly and preserved by the volcano. And so it's become much more important to us today than it was in antiquity. In antiquity, it was one of thousands of towns, and it's mentioned in ancient historical records, but it wasn't nearly as important as it is to us.
Now, if we were to look at some of the objects that are on display here, what would we be seeing?
Well, you would be seeing artifacts within the rooms that they would occur. So for instance, here in this room, this is a garden. There would be the public area outside the private rooms of a very elite house. And the garden was fashioned like the Greeks like the garden, a paradise for animals and a beautiful, peaceful place where they would bring out their couches and dine in the evening. And you have a beautiful fountain here to my right that would be flowing with water. You would go into the other galleries and see beautiful sculptures in bronze and in marble. You would see images of the Forum, the central place of life in Pompeii. We also have an eruption theater, which sort of gives you an experience of the devastation of Mount Vesuvius before that opens into the exhibit where you have the body casts.
Throughout the display, there are recreations of rooms which reflect Pompeii's grandeur, featuring everyday items like a bronze samovar, this serving tray, or this bronze cup in the shape of a seashell. These amphoras were used to store wine or olive oil and represent some of the everyday items unearthed after 1,600 years of preservation.
Well, we have a case with medical instruments. We have scalpels, we have hooks. There's a speculum for gynecological inspection, which to me is kind of chilling. There's a wonderful statuette of 4 puppies sleeping. So there are these things that really appeal to us instantly as humans across the ages. There are also things that are very different for us. There are altars for sacrifices. There's pagan religions. There's evidence of slavery and things we don't have. So the ancients were like us in some ways. In other ways, they were quite alien. And I find the tension between the two very fascinating.
Certainly no image is more associated with the ruin of Pompeii than the sight of the many innocent victims frozen in time in their ash-encrusted graves.
The entire city was buried under 12 feet of ash. There wasn't so much molten lava, but there was this ash and pumice because there was a pyroclastic flow. There were gases and surges that covered the city of Pompeii. So a lot of the sculptures and everything were protected under this thick layer of ash and rock. And when they were uncovered, and they were really excavated in the 1930s, a lot of them were found as you see them. Things were broken, but there was so many artifacts that were still in good condition.
What do you think is the interest in Pompeii amongst everyone, really?
I think it comes on a number of levels. One is this idea of disaster, and those of us who live along the Ring of Fire were faced with this unpredictability of what the natural world is going to give us. Also, we have an eyewitness account, so there's that human dimension of reacting to the disaster. And then there's what's been preserved, which is a picture unlike anywhere else, where we don't just have the grand buildings of the Roman capital, but we have daily life. We have statues of puppies, we have foodstuffs. We really get under the skin of the individuals. And so I think it appeals on a number of levels to different people.
Probably why earthquakes appeal to people here in Southern California.
Right. Well, the German poet Goethe, when he visited Pompeii in the 18th century, he said, "Never has so great a disaster pleased so many people."
If Mount Hollywood were to erupt, what would the people be looking at?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure, but you should probably get out of the way long before that.
To relive the devastation and destruction that leveled the entire culture of this historic metropolis, don't miss Pompeii The Exhibition, on display at the California Science Center in Los Angeles until January 2015.